Hello guys, welcome back to our anime moment. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Swallowed Star 2 episode number 136 based on novel. So let's start. On an island in the middle of lake within the treasured land of infinite space, Luo Feng sat cross-legged on the grass, pondering. The path of life has reached its ultimate, but the path of destruction is still lacking. With the help of those ultimate realm chaotic origin creature materials, his strength could be significantly improved, and naturally, most of his energy was devoted to the path of life. Moreover, with the assistance of those life materials, his comprehension of the path of life became even smoother. As for the path of destruction, I can take a look at this perfect level inheritance. Luo Feng checked the inheritance within the infinite space treasure trove. The perfect level inheritance should aid in cultivating the perfect level inheritance of the 9 realms of extinction, the great Tao of destruction origin. 9 realms of extinction, the perfect level inheritance of the great Tao of destruction origin. The first realm only required 100 reward points to exchange. The second and third realms required 10,000 reward points, and just to begin, one needed a spiritual will surpassing that of a god king to even attempt cultivation. Just 100 reward points, I'll exchange for the first realm and give it a try. Luo Feng was full of curiosity about the perfect level inheritance. How strong must an inheritance be to dare call itself perfect? With a single thought, Luo Feng exchanged for it, and his reward points decreased slightly to 64,093.03. Was tilde. A flood of information poured into Luo Feng's mind. 9 realms of extinction, first realm, realm of peering into the Tao. In this realm, one can glimpse the memories of destruction imprinted on the great Tao of destruction origin within their origin world. When one has glimpsed all the memories of destruction and remains awake, the first realm is considered mastered. Reminder, only those with willpower beyond the God King level may attempt this. Otherwise, they will be assimilated by the great Tao of destruction origin. Reminder, even with a strong willpower, one may still fall into the memories of destruction and go completely mad. Cultivators must control the pace of their insight and not rush. Following this was the detailed method of cultivation. Luo Feng was somewhat stunned. What is this? The entire inheritance doesn't provide any detailed guidance on any branch of the great Tao of destruction origin. It just wants me to glimpse the memories imprinted on the great Tao of destruction origin. Luo Feng was bewildered. He hadn't known that there were memories of destruction imprinted on the great Tao of destruction origin. Luo Feng carefully studied the detailed cultivation content of the first realm. This first realm was merely about glimpsing. It was more about refining the heart, because even wills beyond the God King level could go crazy and needed to control their progress. Refining the heart? Even if it's just a method for refining the heart, 100 reward points are worth it, Luo Feng thought. Luo Feng of the origin continent? A voice suddenly rang out. Luo Feng was startled and turned to look. About 10 feet away stood an old man, smiling at Luo Feng. How is this possible? With my spiritual will, how could a cultivator come so close without me noticing? Even now, in my spiritual will's perception, there's still nothing there. Luo Feng couldn't believe it. His eyes clearly saw, but other methods of detection revealed nothing. My name is Yuan, the old man said with a smile. This space was created by me. Senior Yuan. Luo Feng immediately understood the identity of the visitor and respectfully bowed. Luo Feng pays his respects to Senior Yuan. In the origin continent and the origin world, anyone who has reached the ultimate realm has received the favor of Senior Yuan. The various treasured lands, special life form remnants, secret techniques, and so on were all left by Yuan. You have quite the courage to exchange for this 9 realms of extinction, the old man said with a laugh. This inheritance is only open for exchange for the first 5 realms at the God King stage. Even though there have been many talented cultivators who have tried over the ages, none have succeeded. The highest achievement was only reaching the 4th realm, and there are even quite a few who have gone mad and become demonic. The old man shook his head. My good friend even created 9 realms, believing that once mastered, he would at least be able to jump out of the cage and become a world-level chaotic origin life form. But he was too crazy, and his inheritance is not suitable for cultivation at all. I came to see you because I meet every ultimate realm cultivator, Yuan said, looking at Luo Feng. To become an ultimate realm cultivator in an origin world, each one is a promising seedling. Seeing you, I realized that the 9-story tower has fallen into your hands. The 9-story tower, the Star Tower? Luo Feng guessed. You call it the Star Tower? Yes, it was refined by me, Yuan nodded. Back then, we joined forces to kill a chaotic origin primogenitor. That chaotic origin primogenitor's corpse had 3 blood scales. I threw one into that little tower and simply refined it, making the tower a carrier for the blood scale. Actually, that blood scale is still intact, hidden deep within the tower. Even with my strength I cannot erase it, I can only barely utilize it, Yuan sighed with a smile. We usually leave the materials from chaotic origin primogenitor corpses to the most outstanding and talented group of cultivators, but there are still too few of them who can jump out of the cage. So I thought of trying to cultivate some little ones among the weakest cultivators, so there was this little tower. That little tower went to that original universe and searched for its master among the countless living beings. To become its master while still weak, you are already quite outstanding, Yuan said more than usual. After all, this ultimate realm cultivator was more outstanding than the usual ones, and had even obtained a treasure early on. Thank you, Senior Yuan. Luo Feng now fully understood that the Star Tower was, strictly speaking, refined by Senior Yuan. Do you have any questions? Yuan said. I will try to guide you as much as I can. Luo Feng knew very well how rare this opportunity was. Even with exceptional talent, one might only have this one chance to meet Yuan. Senior Yuan, Luo Feng said respectfully, I want to jump out of the cage. How should I cultivate in the future? Please also guide me. This is something many cultivators want to know, Yuan nodded. The treasure trove of my infinite space, all the perfect inheritances, were created by beings at the same level as me, and all the special inheritances were created by world-level chaotic origin life forms. That's why the exchange for these 2 types of inheritances is limited to the God King level. Yuan looked at Luo Feng. Do you know why you can't redeem the follow-up? Luo Feng listened. Once, we also released some subsequent inheritances, but they had too great an impact on cultivators, even affecting their own paths of exploration, Yuan said. In the cultivation of the Great Tao, those who learn from me will live, those who imitate me will die. Everyone who jump out of the cage is unique. If you force yourself to imitate, there's only one way, death, Yuan said. After realizing this, we restricted the exchange of subsequent inheritances, limiting it to God King level inheritances. Luo Feng understood. Senior Yuan and the others, as well as world-level chaotic origin life forms, their realms are too high. The inheritances they created are too perfect. Future generations who cultivate along these inheritances will naturally be influenced by them. The infinite space treasure trove does have some inheritances that point directly to the half-chaotic origin level, Yuan said. The creators of those inheritances themselves did not succeed, and the inheritances are still rough, but the benefits are extremely high. Subsequent cultivators who rely on themselves to perfect this benefit are instead expected to jump out of the cage. Luo Feng understood. For example, the 8 Tribulations life form is recorded in the treasure trove. However, this is still slightly influenced by those who came before, Yuan said. The best method is to grope completely on your own in the darkness. But wouldn't one lose direction in the darkness? Luo Feng asked. This was also the biggest obstacle after surpassing the God King level. That's why you all can obtain special life form remnants, Yuan said. Special life form remnants are already world-level chaotic origin life form remnants. The mysteries they contain are at the world-level chaotic origin life forms. These remnants are like a lamp in the distance in the darkness. Moving towards that lamp, even if the light is blurry and groping in the darkness may take many detours, the final destination is still that lamp. Yuan looked at Luo Feng. Your chance is better. Your 9-story tower contains a blood scale from a chaotic origin primogenitor. You can hopefully go farther by groping in the darkness. Luo Feng nodded slightly. World-level chaotic origin life-form remnants, just kill a random one and you can break down billions of pieces, Yuan said. We can ensure that every ultimate realm cultivator in an origin world can obtain at least one. But chaotic origin primogenitor level remnants are too rare, so obtaining them is much more difficult, Yuan said. You'll understand once you go outside the origin world, so you should cherish that star tower even more. Luo Feng nodded. A special life-form remnant could fetch an extremely high price outside. What would a chaotic origin primogenitor level remnant be worth? How fierce would the competition be? For this perfect level inheritance, 9 realms of extinction, you only need to exchange for the first 3 realms. Anything more is not very meaningful, Yuan said. There's no need to exchange for other inheritances either. By explore on your own, create it on yourself, and your inheritance will take you further. Save up your reward points. The more you have, the more precious treasures you can exchange for, Yuan smiled. I've said all I need to say. The rest is up to you to go on. After saying this, Yuan disappeared into thin air. Luo Feng immediately bowed. Thank you, Senior Yuan, for your guidance. Yuan's visit this time was purely a broad approach, treating every ultimate realm cultivator in the origin world the same. At least for now, Yuan had not noticed anything particularly outstanding about Luo Feng. Among the many origin worlds, among the billions of worlds, in the endless river of time, Yuan had seen many more dazzling than Luo Feng at this moment. But how many could jump out of the cage? I'll follow Senior Yuan's advice and exchange for the first 3 realms of 9 realms of extinction. After exchanging, Luo Feng decided not to use any more reward points for now, saving them instead. This meeting with Yuan made Luo Feng realize that the other inheritances in the infinite space treasure trove were not very meaningful. The biggest gain was learning the origin of the Star Tower. In Huyang City, Luo Feng looked at the Star Tower in his hand. This blood scale is actually intact, hidden deep within the Star Tower, and even Senior Yuan and the others cannot erase it. He had always thought that the 12-colored blood scale on the edge was a manifestation of the convergence of rule mysteries. It turns out it's so strong that even Yuan and the others cannot erase it. According to Senior Yuan, the mysteries of the blood scale in the Star Tower are even more profound. Groping for cultivation in the darkness, it should be the main focus. Luo Feng understood. The other special life-form remnants were auxiliary. I also wonder if I can jump out of the cage, Luo Feng thought. Milky Way God Kingdom, Kingdom Capital. Come, come, pour the wine, pour the wine. Guishu, why is the wine gone? Black Fire Devil Lord called out. I made a great contribution last time, and it was not easy to exchange for 3 jars of fine wine. Yet, you all drank 1 jar in no time. Guishu Emperor said with a reluctant tone. This wine was brewed from some rare treasures found within the dream realm. Don't be stingy, hurry up and bring more. Wuxin God King urged from the side. Yunqian God King smiled as he watched this scene. The wine is good. Honorable Master Diaz's eye also sighed in satisfaction. All right, I'll bring out another jar, we'll finish it all today. Guishu Emperor could only feel heartache as he reluctantly brought out another jar of fine wine. The Wuxin God King was the first to grab it, beginning to pour wine for the reincarnation building. These members had always been low-key in their actions, but ever since the establishment of the Milky Way God Kingdom, they had all come to join one by one. Especially after Luo Feng's identity was officially revealed not long ago, even Black Fire Devil Lord, who had always hidden in the shadows, actively came forward. Who wouldn't want to live openly and freely? In the capital of the Milky Way God Kingdom, even the emperors and monarchs wouldn't dare to act recklessly. The Kingdom Lord invited us to the reincarnation building early on. Black Fire Devil Lord sighed about the Kingdom Lord. Back then, he was still in the chaos state, but now his rise has been so rapid that he is one of the pinnacle existences on Origin Continent. Wuxin God King also sighed. Now, no one dared to call him by his name directly and only referred to him as the Kingdom Lord. The disparity in status was simply too great, and thus, everyone naturally felt a sense of reverence. The Kingdom Lord helped me to take revenge. Emperor Wu and Emperor 11 are dead, and Emperor Yang has fled outside Origin Continent. He won't survive for much longer. Guishu Emperor drank from his wine. I never thought I'd be able to kill an emperor in my wildest dreams. The days when the two royal families dominated everything are over. Wuxin God King also felt relieved. The two great royal families no longer dared to act so tyrannically. The idol gods on the Origin Continent felt that life had become much easier. A total of 5 emperors and monarchs had died successively, and this had a profound impact on the Origin Continent. At the very least, the two great royal families were somewhat frightened and had become much more cautious in their actions. Back then, when Luo Feng killed me, it took him 2 or 3 breaths of time, which was enough for me to activate the reincarnation secret method, Emperor Yuan said in a tavern. But it's said that the emperors and monarchs who followed didn't even have time to reincarnate. As the #1 sinner of the Origin Continent, I actually ended up gaining an advantage. Emperor Yuan smiled faintly and thought, although he can't return to the royal family or continue cultivating as an ultimate life form, at least he had freed himself from much karma. With greater focus on my cultivation, he might even have a chance to glimpse the boundless Tao. Emperor Yuan had once committed countless heinous sins and was the most reckless among all the emperors and monarchs. However, with the rise of Luo Feng, Emperor Yuan no longer dared to act so boldly. Emperor Wu and Emperor 11 had died, and while Emperor Yang was still alive, he could die at any moment if he ventured outside. Emperor Yuan thought to himself that unless Emperor Yang managed to escape entirely, his survival was uncertain. Emperor Yang had always been slippery. Emperor Yuan shook his head gently. After spending so many years with Emperor Yang, he had never held him in high regard. Living for a long time, having abundant resources, yet his cultivation remained mediocre. But one thing must be acknowledged, Emperor Yang had an extraordinarily sharp intuition and excellent strategy. Among the emperors of the Flame-Wind Ancient Kingdom, Emperor Yang wasn't the strongest, but he was the only one able to unite the other emperors, gaining more resources and benefits than Emperor Fu and the others. Even though Emperor Wu and Emperor 11 were dead, Emperor Yang was still alive. In an ordinary large city, an ordinary eternal true god was reviewing the situation of the Flame-Wind Guild Hall. Luo, he is the Milky Way Kingdom Lord. The eternal true god couldn't believe it. The first time I noticed him, he was just an eternal true god. Back then, a mere eternal true god in Huyang City was already on par with the ancestors of 2 great kingdoms. Luckily, I reincarnated quickly. Liu Yin Marquis felt a sense of relief. He hadn't rushed to break through, and after reincarnating, he still remained at the eternal true god level. With his level of cultivation, even in a large, ordinary city, he was unmatched. I need to be careful. Once I reach the Chaos Realm, there are only so many Chaos Realm beings on the Origin Continent, and it would be easy to draw the attention of the Milky Way Kingdom Lord. Eternal true gods were numerous on Origin Continent, and it was much safer here. Liu Yin Marquis was quite fearful of Luo He, whose rise had been terrifyingly fast. He didn't want to attract the Milky Way Kingdom Lord's attention. He feared that he might accidentally reveal something. Once suspected, the Milky Way Kingdom Lord might be able to forcibly dive into his memories using his current methods. The best course of action was to ensure that the Milky Way Kingdom Lord didn't notice him. I must have been audacious to provoke the Milky Way Kingdom Lord when he was still weak. Liu Yin Marquis thought, then dismissed the idea and continued enjoying his life as an eternal true god in this ordinary large city. In my homeland, the famous Milky Way ancestor is now on the Origin Continent, standing equal to the ancestors of 2 kingdoms. The Eastern Emperor also sighed after reviewing the intelligence he had gathered. I, the so-called East Emperor, owe Luo Feng for bestowing me with a legacy and resources. Only then did I take a crucial step to reach the eternal true god level. Without resources, becoming an eternal true god is incredibly difficult. Many from human race who have breakthrough reincarnation to come to Origin Continent, even with top-tier resources, most of them remain at the Void True God level. According to Luo Feng, Purple Moon should have already died. East Emperor sighed again. He believed this because, with the Milky Way ancestor's mastery of karma, if he declared Purple Moon dead, then he must truly be dead. Time passed in a blink of eye. 3 realms of the 9 realms of extinction, are too extreme and too crazy. However, it indeed facilitated comprehension of the great Tao of destruction. During his comprehension, Luo Feng did not succumb to madness. On the path of destruction, he had accumulated much knowledge, mastered multiple ultimate-level secret techniques, possessed a clone of destruction demon clan, and even integrated the great Tao of life and death. This made it easier for him to resolve some of the dangerous situations encountered during the cultivation of the 9 extinction realms. Although I am not fond of such madness, it allows me to understand what the path of destruction at the chaotic origin level looks like. As a perfect level inheritance, it does not affect the comprehension of various Taos. It is assumed that understanding these foundational Taos is relatively straightforward. The first realm, the realm of peering into the Tao, involves exploring the imprints of destruction of the great Tao of destruction on the origin world. These imprints are the most intense memories of destruction across the origin world's long history, passed down through countless generations. They include catastrophic scenes of the origin world's destruction, acts of disdain it endured, and instances where cultivators actively scorned it. There are even records of higher-level destruction scenes in the chaotic origin dimension. The depth of these imprints varies. The deeper they go, the more terrifying they become. Some destructive imprints carry strong contamination and can distort the mind. When Luo Feng witnessed some higher-level destruction scenes, his soul trembled. From the very first realm, the goal is to give cultivators a vague impression of the path of destruction at the chaotic origin level. The so-called realm of peering into the Tao is about glimpsing the Tao at the chaotic origin level. Luo Feng also understood the ambition of the creator. Clearly, the intention was for future generations to use the perfect inheritance of the 9 realms of extinction to jump out of the cage and at least become world-class chaotic origin life forms. However, the outcome proved that such a terrifying inheritance instead hindered the successors from forging their own paths. Therefore, infinite space now only retains the exchange for the first 5 realms. With Luo Feng's slow progress and lack of resources, he decided it was time to leave the origin world. Luo Feng looked to the outside world. Even ordinary auxiliary items like chaotic origin crystals had become unaffordable for him. Since his life form's strength had reached the early stage God Emperor, each realm required 300 chaotic origin crystals for cultivation. Such expenses were beyond his means. Recently, he had stopped using any treasures, which significantly slowed his cultivation efficiency. Taking one step, Luo Feng left Huyang City and arrived at the Imperial Palace in Chu capital, the Imperial Palace of Emperor Chu. Master, Luo Feng greeted his master, Emperor Chu, who smiled at his disciple. You preparing to depart? Luo Feng nodded. Once I leave the origin world, I can interact with countless powerful beings from various worlds, engage in the exchange of wisdom, and access even greater resources, which will greatly aid my cultivation. Master, are you sure you won't come with me? I won't, Emperor Chu shook his head. Outside the origin world, my strength would be at the very bottom. Going out would only hold you back. I plan to cultivate until I approach the end of an era on the origin continent before venturing into the world. That way, even if I die outside, it won't be in vain. Emperor Chu laughed heartily. Luo Feng did not press further. With his current strength at the early stage God Emperor, he could barely protect himself, let alone his master. At this point, he could offer little assistance. Focus on your journey. Someday, I might even rely on your protection, Emperor Chu said. Luo Feng nodded. Then, disciple takes his leave. Go, focus on your cultivation, and don't overthink things, Emperor Chu encouraged. Luo Feng then met with Primal Chaos City leader and Morosa. I'll venture outside the origin world, even so I will leave a clone on the origin continent, Luo Feng explained. While I'm out, I need to focus entirely on my endeavors. The clone on the origin continent will remain in seclusion. If there's something urgent, you 3 can contact me directly. Otherwise, during my seclusion, I won't respond to anything else. He added, Ancestor Yuan, Master, Milky Way God Kingdom, and Blade River Sect will depend on you. Luo Feng reminded them, Morosa can be a bit unruly, so please restrain him. I'm very well behaved, Morosa retorted with wide eyes. Don't worry, leave it to us, the ancestor Yuan and primal chaos city leader assured. Luo Feng gave a faint smile and glanced at Morosa. Without their supervision, who knew what trouble he might cause? I'll be going into seclusion now, Luo Feng's clone said as it turned and walked into the depths of the cave mansion, entering the star tower within his quiet chamber. This was also the routine for the two-kingdom ancestors, the Eastern Pole region ancestor, and Emperor Qing. They would typically remain in seclusion, occasionally coming out to relax. Luo Feng and Emperor Qing's figures streaked across the sky, heading into the distance. In a remote area of the icy plain, there was a valley made entirely of ice. Within this icy valley was a dark, deep pool. This deep pool served as the teleportation channel for the origin continent. Near the dark pool sat a cross-legged figure. It was Emperor Fu. At that moment, Emperor Fu stood and smiled at the two approaching figures. Emperor Fu. Luo Feng nodded with a smile. He had a favorable impression of Emperor Fu. After all, during the many times Emperor Yang had tried to suppress him, Emperor Fu had always stood by his side. Emperor Fu, you've been staying here all this time. Emperor Qing seemed to guess Emperor Fu's intention. The world outside the origin world is fraught with danger, so I'd like to venture out with you both, Emperor Fu said. Emperor Qing frowned slightly. Emperor Fu, your strength is still somewhat lacking. At most, you could act as a messenger or errand runner. If you're willing, I have no objections. After all, we're of the same clan, and there is some camaraderie between us. Emperor Qing turned at Luo Feng. But we should ask for Luo his opinion. Emperor Fu looked at Luo Feng. For years, he had openly and covertly supported Luo Feng, all for this day. Since Brother Qing has no objections, I naturally have none, Luo Feng said with a smile. Hearing this, Emperor Fu's face lit up with joy. Emperor Qing nodded thoughtfully. Since we're taking Emperor Fu, let's bring Emperor Ming as well. Among the emperors of the Flamewind Ancient Kingdom's royal clan, those two are the only ones worth nurturing. Emperor Ming's strength surpasses mine. On the path of the chaotic origin bloodline, he's already touched the threshold of the God Emperor, Emperor Fu added. If Emperor Ming is willing, let's take him along. Luo Feng also had a favorable impression of Emperor Ming and did not object. Seeing Luo Feng agree, Emperor Qing transmitted a message to Emperor Ming. Soon, a flash of light appeared in the valley. It was Emperor Ming. I discussed it with Brother Luo, and we've decided to take you and Emperor Fu along, Emperor Qing said. Thank you, Brother Luo, Emperor Ming expressed his gratitude. Though he was proud and solitary, he knew full well that his current strength was quite ordinary in the world outside the origin world. Back then, the introduction diagram you gave me was a great help in my cultivation. I haven't had a chance to thank you yet, Luo Feng said with a smile and a nod. Emperor Fu stood to the side in good mood, feeling very satisfied. This video will end here.